A boy in rural Tennessee, 1956, is sitting on the back porch of his grandfather's farmhouse, unlacing a pair of Keds. The screen door is open behind him. The cicadas are loud. He is 12 years old, and tomorrow morning his grandfather is going to put him on a Greyhound bus alone for the first time, 86 miles south to Knoxville, to visit an aunt he has never met, with 2 transfers and a written list of addresses in his front pocket and not a single phone number memorized. Nobody explains the route to him the night before. His grandfather hands him the list across the supper table, sets down his fork, and says only this: "You read the signs. If you miss one, you ask. If nobody can tell you, you stand still until you figure it out." This boy will arrive in Knoxville 4 hours late, having missed the second transfer, slept on a bench in Maryville, and walked the last mile to his aunt's street because the third bus left without him. He will arrive. He will never be asked to do it again without understanding exactly how he got there. These are 31 lost navigation skills American men had before the GPS, before the phone, before the map app, before the little voice in the dashboard that says, "Turn right in 200 feet." Skills most men today cannot perform at all. And number 1 is the one every other 30 were secretly training toward. We'll get there. Subscribe before we start. Number 1 is the navigation skill that decides whether a man can be trusted when no one is watching him find his way. Number 31. A boy in Central Ohio, 1958, learns to read a road by the shape of the asphalt. He knows the difference between a state route and a county road before he is 10. Not by the sign, by the surface. State route is black, laid thick, smooth seams. County road is gray, patched, narrower, no shoulder. Farm road is gravel that turns to mud in April. He can tell, driving past, which road goes through to a town and which one dies at a fence line. This is not talent. It is the slow reading of a landscape done from the window of a Buick on a Sunday drive. Done over years, until a kid can glance at the road and know its class. Today, a man with a phone in his hand cannot tell a dead end from a through road until he is standing in front of the sign. The road was the text. Most men stopped reading it. What came next was a skill the phone had erased before the phone existed. Number 30. A boy in Eastern Oregon, 1951, can stand on a rise above his family's ranch and name the season by the way the light falls through a stand of ponderosa pine. Spring light is low and greenish and slips between branches. Summer light is high, white, hammers the needles flat. Fall light goes amber along the rim of a canyon. Winter light is the only light he has ever seen on snow. He learns the difference because he is sent out before sunrise to check a water tank a quarter mile up a draw, and he is not allowed to bring a flashlight. He learns it because a flashlight means a battery, and batteries cost money the ranch does not have in 1951. He learns it because if he cannot read the lay of the land in low light, he falls into a ditch or off a rim before his mother knows he is missing. Modern hiker cannot find his car in a parking lot at dusk without the dome light on. The light has not changed. The reading of it has. The next skill saved lives, and most men under 40 have never been asked to do it. Number 29. A boy in western North Carolina, 1953, can read a creek for water. He knows the difference between a creek fed by a spring and a creek fed only by runoff. He knows the color of safe water, clear over sand, slightly green over moss, never brown over clay. He knows that a creek that goes dry in August will have a deep bend where the water held longer, and that is where the best pool sits in September, when every other boy in his county is searching. He knows this because his grandfather taught him by walking the creek bed behind the barn and pointing. That pool there, that holds. That one goes to nothing by August. The brown one made your uncle sick in 1948, and he never touched creek water again. A man today drives 2 miles to a filtered bottle and considers it a hardship. The reading of water was a literacy. We deleted the alphabet. And the next skill is one nobody thinks to teach anymore. Number 28. A boy in rural Minnesota, 1956, can dead reckon a half-mile walk through heavy timber without a compass. He uses the sun on his right shoulder going in, the moss on the north side of trees to correct, the slope of the land, and the way a creek bed sounds louder in the morning when the air is still. He has done this since he was 9. His father told him the rule on a hunting trip: never leave a trail without knowing how to walk it back by other signs. A 9-year-old in 2015 cannot find his way across a furniture store without checking the blue dot on a screen. The compass has not changed. The training has. The next skill is older than the country, and most men today could not perform it to save an hour of their life. Number 27. A boy in eastern Pennsylvania, 1950, can read the sky for weather in the next 6 hours. Not the forecast read off a porch radio, the sky. Mare's tails mean wind. A low, even gray means rain by dark. A copper sunset after a clear day means shift to wind by morning. A ring around the moon means precipitation within 24 hours, sometimes within 3. A red dawn is shepherd's warning to him, not to shepherds. He knows this because he is sent to town on a bicycle at 6 in the morning for feed, and if a storm hits the road home, he has to know to turn back or push through. He cannot call. No one is coming. The sky is the entire forecast. A man today, caught in a squall on a golf course, opens an app on his phone and types weather. He has been indoors with a screen his entire life. He has read 10,000 forecasts and 0 skies. The reading of skies was free. It still is. And the next skill came from one of the most ordinary American institutions there has ever been. Number 26. A boy in Topeka, Kansas, 1954, is running a paper route. 63 subscribers, $4 a week. He knows the route as a sequence, not of street names, of houses. The Hendersons get the telegram, folded once, left in the milk box. The widow Pratt gets the star, tucked under the door because her hand shakes. The Methodist Church gets a bundle of 12, Sunday only, on the back porch of the parsonage. By 12 years old, he can deliver all 63 in the dark in any weather, on a Schwinn single speed with a baseball glove strapped to the handlebars. He does not think about the route. He thinks about the people on the route. The houses are how he knows where he is. The houses are the map. A delivery driver today cannot find a stop without the address speaking to him through a speaker. The address is the map. The neighborhood is invisible. The next skill was taught by fathers, and almost no one under 40 has ever held the tool it required. Number 25. A boy in Vermont, 1957, can read a topo line map and tell you what a piece of ground will look like before he stands on it. Tight lines close together, steep. Wide lines, flat or rolling. A blue line forking off a river, draw. A blue line ending in a triangle, spring. A saddle between two contour rings, pass. He knows these because his father marked them on a paper map spread across the kitchen table the night before a hunting trip. And the boy watched the marking and asked questions until his father pushed back his chair and said, "Go to bed." Modern man with a topo app can zoom and pinch and still cannot read the lines. The map is now an image. It used to be a portrait of ground he had never stood on. A boy on a creek bank somewhere in America is the reason this video began. We'll come back to him. Not the way you think. What he was learning was bigger than the creek. Number 24. A boy in Central Texas, 1955, can find north at night with a single star and a horizon line. Polaris is not bright. He was taught to find the Big Dipper first, count 2 stars off the end of the ladle, and the second star is north. He knows how to sight the star across a fence post and walk the line. He knows the trick does not work in the southern hemisphere, and he knows why. He learned it because his father drove him 17 miles out from town on a January night to show him the sky without the light of a town in it, and his father stood in the back of the pickup and pointed and waited. He was 9. He found the star. He never forgot. Modern man cannot name the planet directly above his house on a clear night without an app. The sky used to be a clock and a compass. It is now a screensaver. And the next skill is one that required the family car, and most families today do not know how to read what that car could tell them. Number 23. A boy in Detroit, 1952, learns to read a road trip from the dashboard of a Buick Roadmaster. Speed, so many seconds per mile. 60 at 5,500 revolutions per minute in 4th gear. Engine note. The difference between a knock and a bearing and a valve tappet, all 3 of which his father has had to diagnose in the last 6 months. Fuel. How many miles since the last 10-gallon fill, divided by the gauge since the needle moved off the peg. Tire wear. Front shoulders mean the camber is off. Rear centers mean the air pressure is high. Both sides equal means the toe is in. He learns this because he is in the front seat of every long trip from age 7, and his father talks through every diagnosis out loud, and the boy listens the way other boys listen to baseball on a Philco. Modern driver cannot check his own oil without a YouTube video and a towel. The diagnostic capability of a 55-year-old boy has no peer in a 25-year-old man. The next skill is one that quietly disappeared with the gas station attendant, and almost no one noticed it go. Number 22. A boy in Western Kentucky, 1958, learns to read a car's instruments by the way a driver sits. He knows his father has a frozen throttle by the way his father lifts his right heel off the floor on cold mornings before he even turns the key. He knows his mother is low on fuel by the way she pumps the pedal twice when she starts the engine. The second pump out of habit, not need. He knows an alternator is failing because his father turns the headlights on at idle, and the fan slows with the engine note. He knows these things because his father did not call a mechanic for everything. He diagnosed in the driveway. The boy watched and absorbed. Now a man whose check engine light has been on for 4 months drives to the gym without thinking about it. The reading of a car was a literacy. The literacy died with the driveway mechanic. A boy in a farmhouse kitchen in 1956 watches his father unfold a Rand McNally across the tablecloth. The father marks a route with a soft pencil, folds the map back along the original creases, and slides it across to the boy. Tomorrow it is the boy's job. The father does not ask if the boy is ready. He asks if the boy has questions. The boy has none. The father nods and turns back to his coffee. The map is not a picture. It is a contract. That contract is what most men today cannot write, and what most fathers today have not been asked to teach. Number 21. A boy in rural Iowa, 1953, learns to pace distances by his own stride. He knows his walking stride is 3 feet. His running stride is 5. He knows a quarter mile is 704 feet on flat ground, 235 paces at walk, 140 at run. He knows the schoolyard, paced in bare feet in September, is the canonical 100 yards against which every other distance is measured for the rest of his life. This was taught because the schoolyard was the standard tool, and no boy wanted to ask how far a thing was when he could walk it in front of his friends. By the time he is 11, he has paced a baseball diamond and a plowed field, and the perimeter of his grandfather's lot, and every distance between landmarks in his town.
Modern man cannot pace the length of his own driveway without a tape measure. The body was the ruler. It has been retired. And the next skill was passed from a grandfather to a grandson, and most grandfathers today have nothing left to pass. Number 20. A boy in Maine, 1959, learns to read a coastline from the water. He knows the difference between a working harbor and a quiet cove by the shape of the breakwater and the color of the bottom. He knows a lee shore by the way the swell stacks against it. He knows a navigational hazard by the way kelp lays downstream of a rock in a tide. He learned this on a lobster boat with his grandfather beginning at age 8, summer after summer. The grandfather never taught a course. He taught eyes. A man who could read water could work water. A man who could not was not asked back. You may already be seeing the pattern here.
Every one of these skills has one thing in common. We'll name it at number 6. Modern boater cannot tell a sandbar from a channel without a depth finder. The water has not changed. The reading of it has. The next skill saved men alive more often than any other on this list, and a whole generation will read this and not believe it. Number 19. A boy in upstate New York, 1950, can find his way home in a whiteout by the shape of the trees. He knows that a spruce leans east in a prevailing wind, and a birch grows in clumps of 3 because the root system sends up shoots, and a stone wall runs north-south because the fields lie east-west, and a brook always sounds louder than it is. He learned this because his uncle got lost in a March squall on the way back from a milk house in 1941 and walked 7 miles in the wrong direction, and the family did not say his name for years.
The boy was told about it once, at 12, and never forgot. Modern driver turns on the flashers and pulls over and waits for a tow. The blizzard has not changed. The stakes have. The next skill was taught in a place most American men under 50 have never set foot. Number 18. A boy in northern Wisconsin, 1956, knows how to read snow. He knows a fresh snow is silent, sound carries. He knows a hard-packed trail is a highway in winter. He knows crust that holds a man will not hold a deer. He knows the wind-packed drifts lie on the leeward side of a stand of pine, north side in his county, and that the drifts hold the cold, and the cold holds game. He knows the difference between pine tracks and deer tracks by the way the snow fans at the toe.
He knows this because he has been on a deer stand in a hunter's orange jacket since he was 8. And the men in the cabin taught him what he needed to know to be useful by Sunday lunch. Modern skier cannot tell a thaw crust from a wind slab without an avalanche report. The reading of snow was free. It still is. The next skill is one most men under 40 have never been asked to perform even once in their lives. Number 17. A boy in western Massachusetts, 1957, can dress for cold by reading the day, not by checking a phone. He knows that a dry, clear, cold morning is colder than a wet, overcast cold morning by 10 degrees in his experience. He knows wind chill before wind chill had a name. He knows wet cotton is dead, wool is alive, and down is useless when wet. He can look up at noon and tell you what the temperature will be by dark within 5 degrees.
He learned this because his mother made him wear what his father told him to wear, and if he argued, he went without. The body was the test. The body is what told him. Modern hiker texts his wife at the trailhead, "What should I wear?" The phone has replaced the body. The body has not gained a vote. The next skill is one that quietly disappeared when the highways straightened. Number 16. A boy in central Missouri, 1953, learns to drive the back roads by landmarks, not by turns. He knows the cow barn with the tin roof that has been silver since his father was a boy. He knows the white church on a hill 7 miles east of town. He knows the road turns at the pond with the heron, and again at the hog wire gate with the rust stain. He knows how to drive from his house to his grandfather's farm in another county without a turn-by-turn in his head, by landmarks only. He learned this because he began driving the back roads with his father at 12, in the cab of a Ford pickup, and his father narrated the landscape as he drove. That is a barn from 1890. That is a schoolhouse no longer used. That is the corner where his brother rolled the Chevrolet in 1936. Modern driver cannot find his own hotel without the app speaking. The landmark is gone. The turn is all that is left. Pause here. Tell me in the comments, which of these did your father or grandfather teach you? The comments on this video are full of men naming the exact moment. Read them. There is a boy on a creek bank in Tennessee who is sitting in front of us still. He has not been named. We are past the halfway mark, and he is still there, waiting. He is waiting because what he was learning on that creek bank is not what most people think he was learning. He was learning to be trusted by a man who had no reason to trust him except the evidence of his own readiness. That is the deepest navigation skill of them all, and it has nothing to do with a map. We'll get there, but not yet. Number 15. A boy in southern Indiana, 1958, can navigate a river by current and bank. He knows a fast current cuts the outside of a bend. He knows a slow current lies on the inside, and so does the deepest water. He knows a willow on a bank means water within 2 feet of the surface in summer. He knows a sycamore on a gravel bar means the bar is gravel. Sandbars grow willows. He learned this because he was on the river by himself on a john boat from age 10, fishing for catfish on a trot line his grandfather taught him to set the summer before. The grandfather did not ride along. The grandfather waited. Modern kayaker cannot read a riffle from a hole without a guidebook. The river has not changed. The reading of it has. The next skill is one that almost disappeared with the conversion of farm equipment. Number 14. A boy in Nebraska, 1954, can plow a field by his own sense of the line. He knows how to set a first furrow straight by sighting down the land side of a 3-bottom plow. He knows how to come around and set the second furrow against the first by feel, the sound of the share hitting undisturbed soil and the sound of the share rolling previous furrow are different sounds, and he learned both before he was 12. He learned this because his father put him on a John Deere B with a 2-bottom plow in 1954 and walked beside for 1 season before letting him run the full 80 alone. The father listened for the sound. The boy listened for the sound. Modern man cannot plow a straight line without a GPS light bar. The straight line has not changed. The reading of it has. The next skill is older than America, and almost no one under 40 has ever been asked to perform it. Number 13. A boy in the Missouri Ozarks, 1952, can find his way home at night without a light by the feel of the air on his face. He knows the cool air on his right cheek means the creek is on the right. He knows the still air in a hollow means he has dropped into low ground. He knows the temperature rise on the slope of a ridge means he is climbing. He has been doing this since he was 9, walking back from a barn at night without a flashlight, because flashlights were for inside the house only. He learned this by doing it. There was no lesson, there was no map. There was a barn and a path and a boy walking it in the dark, and the dark was a teacher that never lied. Modern man cannot find his way across a hotel hallway in the dark without hitting the wall. The dark has not changed. The reading of it has. The next skill saved men from the most common mistake of 19th and early 20th century travel. Number 12. A boy in Central Virginia, 1956, can read a ford, a place to cross a creek by vehicle. He knows the gravel bar at the bend is the shallow place. He knows a smooth, dark surface over the bar means silt over gravel, slick as ice. He knows a rippled surface across the bar means cobble, safe. He knows to walk the ford first if he is not sure. He knows to uncouple the trailer downstream if he has to cross a deep one in a truck. He learned this because his father crossed fords every Sunday on the way to church in another valley, and the boy watched from the cab and learned the safe ones by heart. The boy on the creek bank in Tennessee in 1956, his aunt told him later that her grandfather had crossed that same creek on a wagon in 1898 by reading the ford. The reading of a ford is the reading of a kind of trust. Most men today do not even know the word. The next skill was passed from a father to a boy every summer Saturday, and almost no such Saturday exists anymore. Number 11. A boy in upstate New York, 1955, can pitch a baseball target from 100 yards by sighting landmarks. He knows the chimney that is the back of home plate. He knows the road reflector that is second. He knows the lightning-scarred pine at left field. He can throw to any of these from any position on the field, and he does not need to look up. He plays long toss with his father every Saturday morning before broadcast time on the Philco, and the father calls the targets.
He learned this because Saturday morning long toss was the family ritual in his house. And it was not play, it was training. And the training was for the day in high school when the coach said, "Throw to the cutoff," and meant the cutoff. Modern athlete uses a radar gun and calls his coach on FaceTime. The field has not changed. The reading of it has. The next skill is one nobody under 40 has ever been asked to develop. Number 10. A boy in eastern Oklahoma, 1959, can read a weather cell by the air before the radio. He knows the drop in pressure behind his eardrums an hour before a thunderhead builds. He knows the smell of ozone from a quarter-mile away. He knows the way the chickens stop laying at noon means a storm by dark. He knows the way the horses line up at the fence line means wind. He knows the way light goes greenish before hail.
He learned this because his grandmother had no radio, and the boy's job was to look up at 3 each afternoon and call the weather to her from the porch before she decided whether to take the wash in. Modern homeowner watches a radar on his phone and does not look up. The sky has not changed. The reading of it has. The next skill was taught on a piece of equipment almost no boy today has ever held in his hands. Number 9. A boy in western Pennsylvania, 1953, can read a topo map against a quadrant map, against a road map, and find himself inside the overlap. He learned this because his father was a surveyor for the state highway department, and on Saturdays the boy came along. The father taught him township and range. The father taught him section corners. The father taught him that a man who could find his section corner in timber without a tape was a man who could find anything. He learned this because his father's employer assumed his father could read a map, and so his father's father assumed the same, and the assumption traveled 3 generations and stopped. Modern man opens a satellite image and cannot find himself inside it. The map is a picture now. It used to be a contract with the ground. And the next skill was passed in a place no American boy under 40 has ever stood. Number 8. A boy in central Tennessee, 1957, knows how to read a cornfield for a deer. He knows that in early season, the deer bed in the cool draws at the woodline and feed along the standing corn at dusk. He knows that in late season, they bed in the cedar thickets and feed on acorns at dawn. He knows that a south-facing slope is the first place the frost leaves the grass in the morning, and the deer will not move until it does.
He knows this because he has been in a deer stand since he was 9, and his father taught him the field one piece at a time over 3 seasons. And he could read the deer by the 3rd season without seeing them. Modern hunter watches a trail camera app and does not read the field. The deer have not changed. The reading of them has. The next skill saved the lives of men crossing the country alone, and most modern cross-country travelers do not even know it existed. Number 7. A boy in Central Illinois, 1958, can read a fence line for direction. He knows a north-south fence runs straight and true because it was set to the section line by a man with a transit. He knows an east-west fence cuts a corner because the farmer did not want to lose the row of corn at the angle. He knows a windbreak fence is short and runs perpendicular to the prevailing wind, west in his county. He knows this because his father taught him by driving the country roads on Sunday afternoon and pointing at the fences. That one runs true. You can sight north by it. That one cuts. You are in a quarter section that was farmed by a man who was lazy or busy. Either way, that fence tells you something about the man who put it up. Modern driver does not look at fences. The fence is invisible. The land has become backdrop. The next skill was the most ordinary skill in America in 1955, and almost no American boy today has ever been taught it. A boy in a farmhouse kitchen in 1955 is folding a map. His father is showing him how to fold along the original creases, not across them, so the map can be refolded without tearing. The boy is 9. The skill he is being taught is not navigation. The skill he is being taught is the discipline of leaving a tool in the condition he found it.
That is what we lost. Not the map. The discipline of leaving the tool in the condition we found it. The body, the sky, the road, the fence, the creek. Number 6. Number 6. A boy in western North Carolina, 1956, can read a hill by the lay of the trees. He knows that the tallest trees on a ridge are at the edge. They reached for the sun without competition. He knows the trees on the north face are limbed higher because they grew up looking for low light. He knows a blowdown lies in a corridor down the lee of a ridge because wind runs uphill in a storm. He knows these things because they are the same things the birds know, and the birds are older than the surveyors. He knows this because his grandfather told him once, on a fishing trip to a High County pond in 1949, to look at the trees the way he looked at water. The boy was 8. He looked. He never stopped. Every skill on this list has something in common. They are all read-throughs. The body reading the sky, the eye reading the water, the hand reading the road, the ear reading the engine. The man today has outsourced the reading to a screen, and the screen is right about most things. The screen is wrong about the thing that matters. The reading was not the point. The reading was the practice. The practice was the man. The screen does not practice the man. The man practices the man. That is what was lost, not the data, the practice. Number 5. A boy in eastern Tennessee, 1953, can find his way home from any point within 20 miles of his house by feel of the road, the sound of the creeks, the shape of the ridges.
He has been riding a bicycle since he was 8. And his father told him when he left for a friend's house on a Saturday morning to come back the way he would want to be found if he got lost in the dark. He has been doing this for 5 years. He can stand at any crossroads in any county within 20 miles of his house and tell which way is home within 5 degrees. He does this by the way the land lays. He knows the ridge lines the way he knows his own name. He knows this because he had to. There was no other option. He could not call. No one was coming. He had to know. The having to is what built the knowing. Modern teenager cannot find his own school without an app speaking. The land has not changed. The having to has. The next skill was the most practical skill most American boys had in 1955, and almost no American boy has it now. Number 4. A boy in Central Ohio, 1954, can read the back of a road map and translate the symbols into a route across 100 miles of country he has never seen. He knows that a red line on a state map is a U.S. highway. A blue line is an interstate. A black line is a state route. And an unnumbered, dashed line is a county road. He knows the legend is on the back of every Rand McNally and is the same legend in every state. He knows this because he has studied the legend of every road map in his father's Buick since he could read. And he knows that the legend is a literacy. A man who could read the legend could drive the country. A man who could not was told where to go by other men. Modern man cannot tell a state route from an interstate by the color of the line on a paper map, because he has not held a paper map in his hand. The legend is gone. The literacy is gone. The road is now an instruction from a speaker. The next skill was taught by every Boy Scout troop leader in America, and most Boy Scout troops today no longer teach it. Number 3. A boy in eastern Kentucky, 1956, can orient a map to the ground with a compass and then close the compass and walk the route. He knows the 4 steps. Step 1. Face a known feature. Step 2. Rotate the map so the feature lines up with the line on the map. Step 3. Sight a bearing to the next feature with the compass. Step 4. Close the compass and walk the line, correcting by landmarks as he goes. He knows this because his scoutmaster made him practice it on 10 weekends in the fall of 1955. And the practice was 100 yards of hill timber between him and his father's car at the bottom. He failed twice. He succeeded on the 3rd outing and never failed again. Modern hiker cannot orient a paper map to ground without an app. The compass is a decoration on his phone case. The ground is now a screen. And he was still not the man who had to do it. Number 3 is not the deepest skill on this list. What came next was Number 2. A boy in north central Alabama, 1957, can route find a 100-mile trip through 3 counties he has never driven using nothing but a paper map spread on the kitchen table the night before. He plans 2 alternates. He plans a backup if the primary route is closed by weather or a school event blocking a road. He plans fuel stops. He plans a place to stop if the weather turns. He does this by reading the map, by knowing the country in his head, and by the fact that no one is going to come get him if he gets stuck. He learns this because his father trusts him to make the run to his uncle's farm in Alabama on his own at 15. And the trust is a contract. And the contract is, read the map, plan the route, tell me the plan, and go. The father does not say, drive safe. The father does not say, check in. The father says, tell me the plan. Modern driver types a destination and reads the route off a screen and does not plan. The plan is the practice. The planning was the man. The next skill is the one every other 30 were secretly training toward. Number 1. The boy on the back porch in rural Tennessee in 1956 was not learning to find his way to Knoxville. He was learning to find his way without being watched. That is the deepest navigation skill there is. Not the route, not the map, not the compass. The trained disposition of a man who can be sent into the world and trusted to come out the other side having found his own way. Not a route, a man. A man who can read the road because he has read 1,000 roads. A man who can read the sky because he has read 1,000 skies. A man who can read the water because he has read 1,000 waters. A man who can read the weather because he has read 1,000 weathers. A man who can read a man because he has been read by a man. That is what was lost, not the data. The trained disposition of a man who can be trusted when no one is watching him find his way. That is what every other 30 skills on this list were secretly building toward. The legs that paced the distance, the eye that read the sky, the ear that read the engine, the hand that read the fence, the hand that read the ford, the body that read the cold, the mind that read the map. The man was the practice. The man was the product.
The screen returns the data. The screen does not build the man. That is what was lost. The boy from rural Tennessee arrived in Knoxville in 1956. He was 4 hours late. He had missed the second transfer in Maryville and slept on a wooden bench at a covered station stop until a man behind a glass window told him the third bus had already gone. He walked the last mile from a faded sign at the edge of town that read, "Knoxville, 3 miles." He arrived. His aunt took one look at him and told him to sit. She did not ask if he was hungry. She did not ask where he had been. She set a glass of milk in front of him and called his grandfather to say he was there. The boy drank the milk and looked out the window at a street he had never seen before, and felt the whole world was a map he was going to learn by being on it. That is the feeling. The trained willingness to be on the ground you have not seen before, in the weather you did not expect, on the route that did not exist until you made it. The phone does not give that. The phone protects a man from having it. Protection is not the same as training. We confuse the two. We confuse them for 35 years. We confuse them so completely that a man today can be told he is lost by a woman in a speaker the size of a deck of cards and never know he had a voice of his own that could have figured it out. The skills on this list are still teachable. They are teachable by a father on a back porch. They are teachable by a grandfather on a creek bank. They are teachable by a Saturday morning and a pencil and a paper map spread on a kitchen table. They are teachable by sending a boy on a Greyhound alone and trusting the map in his pocket. Which of these did your father teach you? Tell me in the comments. Next week, we're going inside the 31 American trades that died in a single generation. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The boy on the porch in Tennessee folded the list and put it back in his pocket. He did not look at it again. He remembered it. That is the skill. The remembering was the skill.